brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. First edition of the 17th Ave Family Live Podcast. You know? So you see, I got the 17th Ave on, you
Okay.
know?
You got to get everybody. You got to get everybody one. You know how everybody
yeah,
doing? This is Big Muzz, aka Joaquin from Patterson 17th Ave. Joining them with Shadi Ali. What you go by now, brother?
Shadi Ali, a.k.a. Shadi.
Okay. And this is a introduction in a special sense. Whereas I want to cover something tonight with you. And in terms of, today is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day
Absolutely.
to all the mothers. And
Absolutely.
I wanted to go over some things dealing with uh today's celebration, Mother's Day. In
Okay.
turn and I want to begin, I do want to begin with this book right here,
Okay.
From Hustler to Businessman. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
You know what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying?
Yes, sir.
I got it on the bedside. I got it. You know what I'm saying? I looked through it, see what's going on.
All right.
One of the topics that's interested me today is that when you talked about your moms,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? So being that it's Mother's Day, I wanted to go over that chapter a little bit with you about how you describe that relationship with your moms, how that relationship shaped you, how it shaped you, and how important was that relationship with your moms with you. You know what I'm saying? How did that help you prosper? And I want you to elaborate on some things that, because sometimes when our moms talk to us, we don't immediately grasp it. It takes us a while to grasp it. You know what I'm saying? And you explained that some what in your book, because you had your own identity, and I want to elaborate on that on for the beginning, the opening of this topic on Mother's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom was a big influence on my life. As I said in the book, I started off, with my grandmother. So I got when I first met my mom, I was, you know, my mom wanted to baby me, and I was like used to being independent, and now, she want to hold me. I don't want to be held, and so then it got to the point where she was this sweet, nice lady. Then she got stern on me, and it kind of, it kind of threw me a little bit.
Okay, let
However,
me let me let me
yeah,
um let me elaborate on. I mean, let me ask you a couple questions on that. When you say how she was with you, she was babying you, and then when
right.
she got stern with you, at what ages did that affection seem to um change a little bit toward you? What age you was when she was really like cuddling you and you ain't want to be cuddled, you know what I'm saying? And then when she more gotly aggressive to you, how were you then and what age you was?
Okay, during the cuddling time, I was, between 4 to 7. You
Okay.
know, by the time I turned like, 8, it started changing. It started changing, where there was more discipline than cuddling. And, you know, and I realized then, that because I had a mentality, like I said in the book, by the time I was 8, I had tried different things. You know what I mean? I was doing stuff that teenagers was doing. I had sniffed glue, got drunk, that kind of stuff. So I think my mom kind of saw where I was going, to a certain degree, even though she didn't actually see me do these things. She kind of, I guess, what they would say, they could feel it in their spirit.
Right.
That's what they used to say. They could feel it in their spirit what was going on. So then, she started, we started going to church, Sunday school, and
And this is from 7 to what? To you a teenager?
well, this is yeah, yes. Going to church was all the way up to teenager.
Right.
I was going to church even when I was a teenager, early teens. I got, baptized. I was singing in the choir. So I was one of those guys that, was a Christian by, you know, by birthright, by
Right. You
being,
have faith. You have
yeah,
faith, you know.
yeah,
You
yeah,
just
yeah.
practice in a certain dominion, but you have faith, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I had faith in God from an early age, and then, my mom was doing her best to fine tune it into Christianity, and that brought me into it. Helped me. It helped me later on when I started after. Let me speed up. After I had gotten left back, once I got left back, then started getting into the hustling thing, dealing the pills, the weed, things of that nature. And I was only doing that because I was in pain, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are out there that either going through this now or been through it, where you're in pain and you're trying to medicate those emotions by doing something else that makes you feel good, and also the other thing about getting high, it was a way in which you can escape.
Right.
You could, and I talk about that in the book where I was able to explore. I was able to explore different parts of myself depending on what I got high off.
Right.
You know,
But look,
go ahead.
I want because we're gonna go through the book, inshallah. But
Okay.
right, I want to stay like your emotional feelings when you was doing this, the rejection of being obedient to your moms at the time. Did that interfere with your emotions and the love and the respect? Because even though you was being disobedient, did you draw a disrespect for her in a certain aspect on a surface?
No, no. I always respected her, you know, in her presence. My actions behind her back,
Right.
I would say was disrespectful because I knew I was doing things she wouldn't approve of. However, I always gave her the utmost respect, person to person, even though, it hurt me when she, forced me
Right.
to
When
get
she tried
left
to
back.
discipline you.
Yeah, yeah. So it helped me to, find balance because in life, I learned early that there were consequences for your actions. I learned that early from even, the sixth grade. Once I was in the sixth grade, and I realized later on, she didn't do that to hurt or harm me.
Right.
She did that to actually help me, because I was already being influenced by,
Your
the
surroundings.
guys, yeah, yeah, the surroundings, my environment. I was
Right.
already being influenced. So I guess, and then my grades started sinking. I didn't have F, but I had D's, and I guess she knew that I could do better. So she told them to leave me back. And the only thing, it backfired to me. It backfired for me because it made me see it that she didn't have faith in me. You
That's how you
know,
took it. That's how
that's
you
right.
read
That
it.
right. That's that during at 11, 12 years old, I saw it like she was doing something to hurt me. It
Right.
wasn't until later on that I realized she was doing what she thought was right to to ground me, to keep me grounded.
Okay.
And
Hold
but
that thought right there. So that's like planting a seed. So the mother planted the seed.
right,
Although you couldn't project, or your perception of that seed growing didn't affect you at that moment because you still had desires, you still had perception of, you had vision of what you wanted to do, and she was interfering with that. But the mother planted the seed in you to put you on a right and wrong, to steer you from right and wrong. How important can you tell us that is? Even though you rebel against that seed, you go against it. How important was it for you even to later realize what a treasure you had?
I mean, it's it's priceless. I would say it's priceless. There's no amount of money or no type of emotion that you could put towards that, to have your mother, you know, discipline you, letting you know this you do will hurt and harm you in the long run, or it's going to hurt and harm someone else in the long run. This you do will be helpful and beneficial to you, and helpful and beneficial to others. So you have a balance. So it gave me a balance. It
Right.
gave me a balance to know
Mm,
that, okay, if I if I do this, this can happen. If I do this can happen. And I think that's extremely important nowadays. I think it's super important for everyone to have that, because what it did for me, it helped me develop discipline,
right.
self discipline. Because if I didn't, when my mother wasn't around, I had to draw on the things that she said to me, the things that she was, the seeds that she was planting, as you said. I had
Right.
to let those seeds begin to take root and start to grow. And as you said in the beginning, I'm I'm not even a teen. I'm just full of emotion and desires. That's it.
So
Very little logic.
it's like you were standing on a foundation. Your mother planted the seed in you. Later on, you realize she wasn't trying to harm you, but she was trying to guide you. She was giving you something. What do you think would happen, or what can we say how children, moms do not give them a seed, do not plant them in the right direction, don't have a choice like that? What if that was you, didn't have a choice? Do you think you would have went from hustler to businessman, or hustler to something even worse?
I can honestly say that if I didn't have my mother there to, guide me and plant those seeds in me, I would have been hustler to prison, hustler to murderer. It I there's so many other ways that I would have went, and I doubt if any of them would have been really helpful to the community. I truly doubt it, because of the environment that I was around. And I say in the book, my mom would grab me up and say, uh, "I'm fighting for your soul. I'm fighting the devil trying to take you. I'm fighting for your soul. I'm fighting for your life. I'm not going to let him take you." You know what I mean? She used to say that to me. Now I should be like, she bugging, man. What the heck is she talking
But
about?
but but you, that was, she's bugging because it was interfering, or did you subconsciously like think like, okay, because you being like going to church and knowing already, being and feeling that spirituality, that God exists, did you feel like you were too powerful for the devil to overtake you, or you didn't want to accept the shape of your life was going, because it was your perception, it was your ideal? So the devil don't got me. I'm good. I know God. I'm in touch with God. But you're doing devilish things. But she wouldn't let up. And she kept telling you, I'm not gonna let up. So by her not letting it up, and you knowing that, did that also play a role when you had to turn your life around, remembering what she said? turning to God, knowing now that you can see the devil that's in you, that's trying to take over? Did that also play a part?
Yeah, yeah, it played a part. Like the part it played is like, as you were saying, I felt like, man, devil can't get me. He ain't gonna get me. I got this. I got this. You know, not realizing that every day it was a struggle. Every day it was a struggle because, as you said, even though I may have had some positive thoughts, I was doing some devilish things.
Mm.
I was doing devilish things in having a positive thought. However, it just got to the point where, you know, she was consistent and not giving up and pushing me to go another route, because at one point, for me, working wasn't an option. I wasn't even planning on trying to get a job. I was planning on hustling all the way through. But her sternness about, look, you got to get a job. You got to get a job or you got to go to school, one or the other, you know? And she stayed on me. Like, she would wake me up in the morning. Look, you got to go look for a job. I don't care. I'm going outside looking around, like I'm going for a job. Sometimes I go check a few spots out, but because she stayed consistent on me
Right.
with getting that job, and every time I came in the house, I had to hear, "You got a job yet? You got a job yet?" Ultimately, me hearing that and knowing that she wasn't going to let up, I ultimately got the job. I ultimately start
You
working.
went in that route. Let
Right,
me let me
right.
let me let me ask you something. Back then, in the 80s, when we was growing up as teenagers and we was learning about life, it wasn't a lot of offering to the black man in the community for jobs. Teenagers for jobs. It wasn't a lot. We had a couple job placement camps and stuff like that. So it was a struggle when your mom's telling you to go get a job and you go out there and it's not as easy as she says every morning. It's not as easy to go out and keep saying and get and hitting that wall. No, 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 no. Similar to nowadays, which is quite kind of different. It depends on how you view it and what tools you use to get that progress. Nowadays, you have more tools than we had available to get these jobs, but you still have the same emotional status or the vision like you had when you were young, and another brother nowadays, young, going out and going, there ain't no jobs, there ain't no jobs. As your mother stayed consistent, what would you say to the women that's raising rebellious young brothers, uh, brothers with the same attitude that you had, brothers that feel that those opportunities ain't there for them, right? What would you say to those mothers in order to give them some type of knowledge, insight of how to mentor, how to guide their young men, the young men in their lives? What would you say to them?
I would say to all the mothers, don't be too passive. Don't be too aggressive with them. However, you got to be consistent in what you tell them. If you tell them you want them to get a job, you tell them you want them to do good in school, you stand on that. Stay on that. Don't waver when it comes to what you expect out of your sons. And don't be afraid to hold the bar kind of high, you know, hold the bar high, because if they fall, they'll be a little under. If you put the bar low, there's no real good expectations from them. So if you put the bar high, you got them reaching for something. You
Right.
got them, like, you because I think if you just say, "Oh, my baby this, my baby that," your baby will play you. You know, I was doing things my mom had no idea that I was doing, but she still wanted what she saw for me. And what she saw for me added to me growing into the man that I am today. And no, did I listen all the time? No, I didn't. I heard her. I heard what she said. I didn't always listen. A lot of times I took my own route. Sometimes I had to bump my head. I had to find out the hard way.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Not to cut you off. In comparison with the same brothers and the same situation like you had, and now today, those chances that you took and how you were shaped and how you turned out to be, from hustler to businessman, well established, doing your thing, positive, reflecting those lights, especially in this book, is very interesting how you point out that your mom's and what she told you later on, that seed start to, it start to sprout. Nowadays, brothers may not have that timing you have. They can't take the chances you took. So when a mother is being consistent with them and they're seeing a wall, what would you do or what would you tell them for they safe havens? Because those opportunities is much rougher out there now. They don't have those same opportunities as you did to get by than the time they living right now. So what would you say to them?
I tell the young brothers now, be very, very cautious. Be very cautious on how you maneuver in them streets. Be very cautious with decisions that you make because uh, unlike then, there was a chance where a brother would approach you if he had something going on with you. He would approach you, or he may approach somebody that he got some type of beef with you. Now,
Hmm.
he's coming at you a whole totally different way. So, where you may be able to get into a one-on-one squabble, now you may get your life taken just on something that a misunderstanding, something somebody think you want to do to them, or just think you a certain way. So I would say those streets, play them streets to a minimum. And if you're gonna be in them streets, then strive your best to be one of the individuals that stay away from the gunplay. Don't promote the gunplay. The gunplay is only going to end up, you're going to end up dead, you're going to end up killing somebody, or you're going to end up in prison. That's or you may end up in a wheelchair.
So let
You
me
may
ask you,
go ahead.
based on uh your book, how you changed your life around when you heard your mom's, you had your son, made a lot of things change in your life toward how you was feeling your desires that wasn't so, righteous, we would say. How you changed your life because things was there, elements was there that help you curve. Everybody nowadays, the relationship in the household with the mother and the son doesn't have that. A lot of it doesn't have that seed to be planted and more aggressive. It's more controlling. It's not pushed over as loving. The male runs to the street. It's not a lot out there. His aggravation, he's aggravated. He don't know how to express his aggravation. How would you say or tell the mother and the son to better that relationship, to curve those outcomes in the street, like having been just angry to just shoot somebody, or not being conscious enough to think about the results if I do shoot somebody, or the mother just blaming but not knowing the condition if the son is being lazy, not communicating, but more like a dominant control factor. That's what we have going on. So that's how I'm gonna call it. You know what I'm saying? Being though that you're experienced and you raised a son and your son respect his mother, you have some seeds for these mothers and these young brothers that you could give. What would you say to the mother and the son in a household in order to have a better relationship?
As you eloquently brought about it when you said the communication, they need to be comfortable. You know, both the mother and the son needs to be comfortable enough to open up and express what they feel, and not just what they feel, but what what's going on in their life. You know what I mean? The son, it's okay for the mother to say, look, I done went through some things. I'm not just telling you because, you know, I don't know. I've went through some things,
Right,
with your father or whatever. You know what I mean? Your father's not a bad man, but he made some bad decisions. So I'm only trying to tell you based on what I've seen happen.
right,
So I want you to avoid some of the decisions that your father made so that you can be in a better position than your father is in a lot of cases. Because a lot of cases when that happened, the father's not in the picture. The father had made some decisions that then caused him not to be able to be in the picture in a lot of cases. So, and his son, a lot of times in nowadays, don't really know the father that well, you know, and all he has is his mother. In the streets, he's trying to learn how to be a man, but the guys on the street trying to learn the same thing. They trying to learn how to be a man. So it's like the blind leading the blind. So I would say to the son, listen, take time and listen to your moms. Don't nobody's always right,
right,
but but she's not always going to be wrong either. So some of the stuff that she's telling you may not register at the time she tell you. You may have to play it back when a situation arrived. Plenty times I had to play it back. Situations arrived and I was playing it back and was able to utilize the information that that my mom gave me. So I would say, you know, the moms, be open with your sons, and sons be open to listening to your mothers.
right.
You know, yeah.
So,
So
so,
go
so,
ahead.
a level of respect has to be planted. You know, a lot of mothers lose uh, that level of. It's a way to talk to male sons. You know, and as well as female daughters. You know that once they become a certain age, that maturity they think they have, that's what they be yelling for, some respect, even though it be displayed in a whole different fashion. So the communication between the mother and the son is very, very important. That changed your life for listening to your moms, even though you was acting out something else. So that tells me right there, mothers has to have a level of patience. That has to have a level of patience because would you say, could I describe it like when you was younger, the immaturity was more aggressive and more out front than the level head, the maturity side. It didn't get there yet when your moms was also speaking about this because you was fighting for a position, display yourself or whatever have you. And the mother has to have some type of patience, a lot of patience. So, like your mother had to watch you grow and change, which that was a blessing that you got to do that. Everybody don't get that opportunity. So, what can we tell our moms with these young? I don't want to call them no young niggas. You feel me? But these young brothers out here that the moms sometimes has to be a patience. And I want to add on to a lot of brothers that I speak to, younger brothers, they don't have that respect for their moms where I'd be like, yo, you gotta respect your mom. She birthed you, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then they go, well, she wasn't never there for me because of an addiction, of an addiction. That means she didn't never, you never got to know the real her. You know what I'm saying? So also the sons have to play a part in having patience. You agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. We short on time.
Oh, we is?
Yeah, yeah. We have
Oh, I
reached
talk too
our
much. I'm sorry.
no. We reached our time. We're a little over. Uh,
Okay.
I guess we would have to table that. You know what I mean? You
Right.
know, table that for next Sunday, and
Yep.
we give the answer then for that. But we appreciate everybody. We appreciate you all for watching, and tune in next week where we'll continue this conversation, where we'll be talking about the answer to with the mothers and the sons
Having
being
patience.
able to having patience for each other and having empathy for each other, putting their self in each other's position. We'll
Right.
we'll elaborate on that more next week. But until
You
then,
said not just real quick, and you said some of that in your book. They got to get the book because you said you covered some of that in the book. That's why I wanted to cover that topic today because you said a lot of that in the book. And I think that'll help a lot of mothers out there and a lot of sons out there if they know and understand, if they read and sit back and could just take that message that you was giving them, having that patience and having that change, man. I think that was really positive that you put that in the book like that. You feel me? That was real good.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
it. I'm out, bro. That's it. I'm
yeah.
out.
We out. You know, the book is a family book. I would say it's for family to try to help family connect and work through things, and it's also for
Right.
individuals. I would say that as well.
Especially
So, but
coming
with
from the block, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll see y'all next week.
Yep.
We
Big
appreciate
Muzz.
y'all.
Yep.
Shadi Ali,
Big
we
Muzz,
out.
aka Joaquin. We out, baby.